Part 1. You will hear a woman inquiring about job vacancies at a local employment centre. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello there. Welcome to the employment desk. How can I assist you today?
Good morning. I was wondering if there are any job vacancies open right now.
Yes, we do have a few listings available. What sort of role are you interested in?
Honestly, I'm open to any part-time position. Things are a bit tight for me financially at the moment.
All right, give me a moment to check the system. Okay, here we go. There are currently 3 roles open, and they're quite different from one another.
That's good to hear. What are the options?
The first is a position as a front desk assistant. It mentions here that having experience in front office duties or basic clerical tasks is desirable, but not strictly necessary. Have you worked in a similar environment before?
No, I haven't. I became a parent early on, so my employment history is pretty limited. Can you provide some additional information?
Certainly. The main responsibilities include assisting visitors both by phone and in person. You'll also be expected to offer drinks and maintain a welcoming environment for guests waiting in the lobby.
I think I'd be good at that. I'm quite approachable.
That's good to hear.
Do you have any information on the working schedule?
It states that the job includes several early morning shifts 4 times a week.
Are there any other specific requirements?
Yes, you'll need to attend an unpaid orientation period that lasts a few weeks before you're officially onboarded.
I'll have to see if I can manage that. Did you mention it's 4 days weekly?
Yes, 4 working days, and you can request an additional day off in advance. Also, it's specified that at least one of the days has to be either Saturday or Sunday.
I'll need to check with my childcare provider.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Are there any other roles with later starting hours?
Yes, there's a listing for our personal courier. You need a full and clean UK driving license. No exceptions allowed.
That's not a problem. I passed on my first go and haven't had any penalties.
It also says applicants must be at least 26 years old and have held a license for no less than 7 years.
That sounds like something I'd enjoy. Is there more detail?
Yes, the hours are adaptable, and the employer is willing to coordinate around your personal availability because they work with several drivers.
That's really helpful.
They require that you commit to either mornings 5 days a week, evenings 5 days, or 3 full-day shifts per week.
I'm confident I could fit that into my schedule.
In addition to transporting the employer to appointments, you'll be expected to run errands like picking up groceries and collecting their children from activities.
Will they need me on weekends?
No, this position is only for Monday to Friday.
That's encouraging.
Okay, there's only one more left, another customer service related post. The hours are shorter but fairly late at night, so it might not be the best fit. Do you still want to hear it?
Sure, can't hurt.
It's a night counter clerk job. If you've been to the theater before, you'll know the type of work involved. This job is located at a theater located in the city center. The shifts usually run from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. most evenings and are a bit longer on Friday and Saturday.
What are the job tasks?
Selling entry passes, serving snacks, and managing phone bookings. They'd like someone quick with digital systems, but they'll offer basic instruction.
Can I take weekdays off?
If you give 2 weeks notice, that'll allow you to take Monday off, but weekends are non-negotiable.
Okay, I'll think it over and get back to you. Thanks for your time.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 1. Part 2. You will hear a speaker giving a talk about an international cultural exchange program and how to join it. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 14.
Thank you all for attending my presentation this evening. It's wonderful to see such a large turnout. For those unfamiliar with Global Link, I'd like to begin by sharing some background about the organization. Global Link is a UK-based initiative that organizes cultural exchanges across the world. This initiative takes pride in connecting thousands of local households with international guests each year, giving travelers an unparalleled opportunity to immerse themselves in the customs and daily lives of their destination. These exchanges offer mutual advantages, providing explorers with reasonably priced lodging and families with a consistent source of income. The experience is especially popular among postgraduate exchange students eager to gain a deeper understanding of a new region, along with the chance to sharpen their language proficiency. Participating in such a program is a rare and unforgettable experience, one that leaves a lasting impression. That said, it's important to recognize that adapting to a different lifestyle abroad can be a challenge, with many newcomers facing what's commonly referred to as adjustment fatigue. To ease this process, Global Link encourages people who are having trouble adapting to get involved with other people and make new friends, even if it seems scary at first. Making friends is proven to foster a sense of belonging and introduce you to interesting local venues. Initially, communication with your host household might be difficult due to language differences, but this is typically short-lived. Many participants reported that conversations around hobbies or mutual interests often break the ice effectively, making it easier to form real connections with host families. For instance, you might both be keen on cycling and begin taking rides around the neighborhood each weekend. One participant staying in a countryside region of Ireland told us that she and her host now regularly attend pottery workshops in the nearby village, describing the activity as serenely inspiring. After a few weeks, most people have a much deeper understanding of the local ways of life and their culture, and they start to feel like they are part of the community. Our hosting families, who span over 130 countries, transform locations into memories, time into meaningful exchanges and strangers into companions.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
So, how do you go about enrolling in one of these exchange stays? The simplest method is to visit Global Link's website and get in touch with one of their approachable team members. Once you express interest, it's essential that you remain in frequent contact with the coordination office, which will provide regular updates via email about possible matches based on your selected destination. After registration, Global Link will request a variety of documents and will mediate communication between you and your potential host before final confirmation and payment. During this phase, you'll need to submit 2 images, one for your host family and the other for our archives. Kindly remember to write your name on the back of each one. Since Global Link handles sensitive personal arrangements, strict identification procedures are in place. Applicants will need to submit clear copies of their national ID card, certificate of residence, and a recent utility bill for identity verification. Once these items have been received, the application process will be officially activated, and your account will be charged an initial fee of £250. If you haven't received any email confirming that your documents have arrived within 6 business days, please get in touch with our central branch. As noted earlier, Global Link runs a detailed screening program, and every participant must attend a formal meeting at our headquarters in Manchester, unless exceptional circumstances apply. Following your appointment, it may take a few weeks for us to complete the assessment process, so we kindly ask for your patience. If you prefer an expedited option, please mention this in your application, and we'll inform you about the extra cost involved. Finally, once a conclusion has been made, you'll receive a decision via post. Should you not be selected for the program, your initial fee will be reimbursed within 6 working days.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear a discussion between students and a professor about research work. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen and answer questions 21 to 26.
For the following week, I'd like each of you to conduct a research task to support your final assignment. To secure high marks, make sure to incorporate a combination of first-hand, second-hand, and tertiary references. Any questions?
Yes, Professor. I do have one. We haven't really been shown how to go about this kind of research in detail yet, so I'm a bit confused about what's required. When you mention using first-hand material, are you expecting us to create a survey and examine the feedback?
Designing a survey is one option, but you'll probably find that distributing a large-scale survey is rather impractical. We wouldn't ask you to manage something that demanding without institutional support. Instead, it's better if you set up 1 or 2 discussion circles and carry out interviews. This gives you a deeper, more descriptive form of data. If you're better with numbers and data, feel free to go for a statistical route, but be aware it will take significantly more time and effort. And for this project, it's not strictly essential.
Professor, you haven't yet told us what the topic is. Can we choose our own, based on what we've studied previously?
No, I'm afraid the topic must relate solely to life in New Zealand. However, the perspective you take is up to you, as long as it remains within the field of sociology. Any specific questions about setting up your discussion circles? I've had a lot of queries by email, so I'd like to go over that now.
I'm focusing on childhood experiences in New Zealand and the debate around upbringing versus genetics. I've managed to gather over 150 adolescents who are happy to be involved in a discussion circle. Do we really need that many?
Wow, Liam, impressive effort rounding up that many volunteers, but you won't need nearly that number for this assignment. I'd suggest keeping it to around 4 individuals per session and a maximum of 3 sessions, so roughly 12 participants altogether. Keeping the group size small is crucial for productive conversation.
Right. If you think that's better, I'll go with that.
I admire your commitment, Liam, but remember, there are many effective ways to gather your data. If you look hard enough, you'll likely find existing studies that mirror what you're trying to do. My advice is not to overdo it and try to incorporate perspectives from different people or communities.
For students who haven't ever gathered original data before, what would you recommend?
I'd recommend reading accounts written by past students who've done similar projects. Also, make sure you read Chapter 9 in the assigned course book. It offers a solid introduction to field research. And don't forget to use the practice data chart provided in your student pack. By now, you should have consulted at least half a dozen texts offering practical advice on conducting surveys or interviews.
Professor, I'm not sure about the others, but I'm falling behind on the reading. I had a big deadline last week for another subject and couldn't get around to this. Maya, have you gone through all the recommended reading?
My issue has been accessing the books. Every time I go to the resource center, the relevant titles are already checked out.
You probably should have tried borrowing them earlier in the term.
True, but I was able to borrow a few from my roommate just recently. I only flipped through them quickly, so I can't remember much of the details.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Anyway, let's start figuring out what we'll definitely need to handle for the assignment.
Sure. The first task listed here is the summary draft.
If you want, we can team up for the research gathering and interview scheduling, and maybe even collaborate on writing the summary.
Great idea. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to help, seeing as I've barely touched the reading material. But I can definitely put together some prompt cards and create a checklist of talking points for our discussion circles.
That sounds ideal. Let's do that.
Do you think we'll need to send out a notification to the participants with the interview location and time?
Definitely. I'll draft that up.
Perfect.
I should also prepare a consent form confirming that they agree to have their voices recorded.
Oh yes, good point. I'd forgotten about needing a recording. Transcribing is going to take ages. Maybe we split it. I'll handle one group, and you can handle the other.
Agreed.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear a lecture given to university students about the use and history of graphic symbols in communication. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be speaking about the graphical symbol. A graphic symbol is a written representation used to depict speech, such as those found in the Greek alphabet. The phrase graphic symbol includes a wide range of examples, from the logographs seen in Egyptian hieroglyphic writing to the ancient Chinese pictograms. These early marks originally stemmed from pictographs and ideographs before evolving into full logographic writing systems. Such forms of writing are still employed in certain non-literate communities in parts of Africa, the Americas, and Oceania. In fact, some aspects of pictography can still be found in current Chinese characters. It can be very interesting to find out where certain characters came from. Pictographs are also widely used today in commerce and communication, often appearing as signage, directions, or data diagrams. Road signage, public restroom symbols, and flat-pack furniture instructions that use illustrations all fall into the category of pictographic visuals. Historic graphic writing systems offer valuable insights for researchers exploring past civilizations. A major archaeological discovery occurred in 1799, quite by accident, when members of Napoleon's Egyptian campaign came across a stone in Rosetta bearing 3 separate scripts. This artifact, now famously called the Rosetta Stone, was the subject of intense scholarly analysis, and it was the French linguist Jean-François Champollion who successfully deciphered it in 1822. He accurately identified the phonetic meaning of many symbols, and later scholarly work has validated his conclusions. Many of these characters used lines to express multiple ideas, and a solid grasp of these lines is essential for interpreting graphic writing systems. One of the most pivotal events in communication history was the invention of the camera obscura, or what we now simply call the camera. Although the concept dates back to 5th century BC Chinese philosopher Mo Ti, it was in 1826 that Joseph Nicephore Niepce produced the first photographic image. What came to be known as photography has since enabled historians and scientists to better understand the past more clearly. In modern times, photography plays an integral role in daily life, with most publications featuring numerous photographs. It is a key tool in advertising, and increasingly, it's being used to raise awareness of global issues. Animal welfare organizations, for instance, now rely heavily on photography to highlight endangered species. In some cases, charity workers are flown to remote parts of the world to document the harsh realities animals face, aiming to inform the public about the environmental impact of their consumer behaviors. A recent high-visibility campaign involved strapping a camera onto a bird's leg to capture images of the creature in its natural habitat and observe how frequently it encounters human pollution. A documentary that is soon to be released focuses on animal suffering on Midway Island, illustrating the deep effects of human consumption even in isolated locations. As photographic technology advances, drones, for example, are now fairly common. We can expect even more applications to emerge, broadening photography's reach. The pressure on traditional media pricing has forced many media outlets to become innovative in generating revenue. A growing number have turned to advertising as a solution, allocating larger portions of their budgets to newspapers. In parallel, marketing has evolved into a core element of business strategy, often determining whether a company succeeds or fails. As a result, considerable investment has gone into crafting strong brand identities, with eye-catching packaging playing a significant role. Still, many governments are now intervening in marketing and packaging practices to prevent consumer deception. Tobacco companies in particular are under increasing regulation. In the United Kingdom, for example, a law is expected to pass that will ban any branding or visual distinction on cigarette packaging in an effort to reduce the health impacts of smoking. Lastly, it's important to remember how important graphic writing methods are to mathematics. Symbols such as graphs, icons, and diagrams are foundational in these academic fields. A perfect modern-day example is the periodic table of elements used in chemistry, which illustrates how graphic writing continues to shape our understanding.
That is the end of Part 4.